Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to tonight's class. We're going to continue with the second block of the second level of English, level A2. And remember that you have to continue practicing by copying, reading out loud, saying what those things you can remember, and listening to a lot of, well, especially to the audios we sometimes have, and remember, if you have any questions about any of the things we learned in block number one, you can still ask me. Yeah? Something I recommend is that you copy the exercises again from block number one so you don't forget the things we learned in the previous block. Okay? And now let me show you the book we're going to use. I sent you two parts of this book, yeah? Some of you received two parts of this book. The first part is the unit part, yeah? And the second part is the video part. But it's the same material. It's the same, yeah? Just find the page where you have unit number 7, okay? If you didn't receive this material, you can ask me for this new one, but it's the same, okay? Only look for unit number 7. You might have received, let me show you. Okay, wait just a second.
Did you?
Bien, esto primero, por si recibiste el otro, permítame
Yeah,
un segundito.
I don't have this material.
Sí, voy a mostrarles el que pudieron haber recibido. Es lo mismo, solamente que pudiera venir, pudiera aparecerles como revuelto. Déjame ver si lo tengo aquí a la mano. Solo para que lo ubiquen ahorita, pero para que no se les dificulte, les puedo enviar el actualizado, ¿sí? Wait a second. Solo un minutito para que todos lo puedan tener a la mano. Okay, one more second. Okay, wait. Mm. Miren, pudieron haber recibido este material que les voy a mostrar. No, sí, no, este sí lo mandé nuevo. Okay, wait. Pudieron haberlo recibido en dos partes, te lo voy a mostrar. Por si este es el que recibiste, es el mismo, solo habría que ordenarlo, ¿sale? Pero te lo voy a mostrar para que veas que es el mismo y puedas buscar bien la unidad, porque algunos pudieron haber recibido este. Bueno, ok, wait, y te lo voy a mostrar. Pudiste haberlo recibido así, igual el mismo menú, y aquí empieza por unit number one. Este es el anterior. Que tiene estas marquitas. Solo busca la unidad número 7, ¿sí? Todavía tiene estas marquitas como language.com, ¿ok? Solo busca que diga unit number 7. De cualquier forma, si no te sientes como con ese material, no le entiendes o algo así, nada más avísame y te envío el actualizado, pero es el mismo. Te voy a volver a mostrar el que vamos a utilizar y empezamos con unit number 7. It's lighter and thinner. ¿Ya? No, de todas formas, ahorita se los envío a todos.
I don't have this page.
Ok. Entonces ahorita se lo envío, Jenny.
Thank you.
Ujú, sí, que se lo envío de una vez. Si alguien hubiera pasado por lo mismo, por favor permítame saberlo porque debe tener el del bloque número 2 y les envío el nuevo. ¿También, Janice?
Yo solo recibí este de diferentes supermarket, de farmers market,
Ok,
Unit 7.
ok, pero no la parte del video.
La parte del video es la que tengo aquí, pero
Ok,
no esta, la que usted presentó de shopping.
bueno, puede ser solo que viene en desorden, pero de todas formas le envío
Ah, ok.
el, el otro para que no haya problema.
Teacher, una pregunta. La parte del video es lo último, ¿verdad?
Sí, es lo último.
Ok, el mío está bien.
Ok,
Gracias.
gracias, Nadia. Bien, si alguien no encuentra también la página, le envío el actualizado, por favor, nada más avíseme, ¿sí? Ok. Bueno, les platico bien rápido la dinámica de este segundo bloque. Va a ser la misma que la anterior. Recuerden que es importante que no compartan datos sensibles por el chat, que no compartan redes sociales, número telefónico. La mayoría ya los conozco, me entregan sus tareas, hemos platicado y así, pero bueno, nunca y siempre voy a tener cuidado con todos sus datos, todo lo que ustedes me envían en cuanto lo utilizo o en cuanto retroalimento, se borra. Les menciono esto porque cada vez hay más casos en los que surgen ciertas estafas por teléfono, etcétera. Si ustedes llegan a ver algún mensaje raro, aunque sea el mismo número, pero que sea raro para ustedes, yo nunca voy a solicitar dinero por ningún otro motivo más que para que ustedes se inscriban a un bloque. Nunca Inglés con Aarón va a crear ningún grupo de WhatsApp, ni de Facebook, ni de TikTok, ni de Instagram, nunca, ¿sale? Cualquier cosa fuera de la dinámica que ustedes ya conocen, tómenla como riesgo, ¿ok? Se los comento solamente por si llegara a sucederles, esto no está de más comentarlo, puesto que todo lo que ahorita está surgiendo con las redes sociales y de forma digital se puede presentar. Si se les hace raro, no le hagan caso. Cualquier duda que lleguen a tener de alguna publicación o algo así, por favor pónganse en contacto conmigo. De cualquier forma, si ya han seguido alguna de mis redes sociales, en realidad no llego a subir nada de nadie más que de algo que yo llegue a crear, ¿no? Nada más eso. Si algo se les hace raro, por favor pónganse en contacto conmigo por cualquiera de las redes sociales que tenemos para que yo pueda ya sea confirmar o negar cualquier trámite que llegaran a tener información, ¿ok? Este segundo bloque es el previo al nivel B1. Desde ahora consideren que se están preparando para el nivel B1, ¿ok? Todo lo que ustedes van a practicar ahora, de esto va a depender que puedan comprender y aprovechar el nivel B1, que sería el que veremos las próximas, después de estas próximas 7 semanas. Estén bien enfocadas, que esto es para que ustedes ya vayan a nivel B1, ¿ok? Vamos a empezar otra vez. Esta es la última vez que escuchan mi voz en español durante estas 7 semanas. Cualquier duda que lleguen a tener. Ahora, procuren más enviarla en inglés, ¿sale? Por ahí todavía en el bloque uno tuvimos oportunidad de que expresaran algunas cosas todavía en español. Si me enviaban de todas formas la duda en español, regularmente se las contestaba en inglés. Si tenían alguna duda todavía podían preguntar en español, pero ahora ya no. Esfuércense por equivocarse en inglés, por hacerlo mal en inglés, pero por hacerlo en inglés, ¿ok? Por supuesto, algunas veces voy a hacer algunas preguntas de confirmación para que veamos a qué te refieres, pero es para que ustedes vivan esa parte de tener que confirmar lo que dijeron, ¿no? Imagínense que de ahora en adelante van a hablar con alguien que no sabe español y cualquier cosa que ustedes digan en español no la voy a entender. Imagínense que es así para que todo lo que envíen sea en inglés y lo voy a confirmar con ustedes en inglés, ¿ok? So, thank you for being here, everybody, and let's start. Unit number 7 is the second block of level A2, and we are going to continue with vocabulary for this unit. As we always do, we always have new vocabulary for everything and try to apply this in your real life as we always do for homework. So, welcome and let's start. We're going to write new vocabulary for unit number 7. So, please copy. As a title, write opposites with double P. For opposites, we have some adjectives. The first adjective we have is small. Do you know what is the opposite form for small? What's the opposite for small?
Big.
Tall,
Big.
big,
Big. So you only be careful not to say big, but big. Big. What about quiet?
Loud.
loud,
Loud. So quiet, shh, and loud. Noise everywhere, right? Or thin. What is the opposite of thin?
heavy,
Thin, it's like this. And thick, it's like this. Yeah? Thin, thick.
okay.
Thin, thick. So you may have a thin book. Yeah? Thin book would be like this. Now, this is more like an agenda than a book, but it's the example, right? This is thin. Yeah? But then we have some other things that are actually thick. You see? This is thick. Not thin as the other one, but thick. Yeah? You can use it to talk about a book or some other things, not only books. What is the opposite for light?
Dark.
We're talking about
Heavy.
light, heavy. It can also be dark, yeah? If we use light for a different purpose. Heavy, light, and heavy. Oh. Fast. What is the opposite for fast?
Slow,
Slow, slow. And the opposite for cheap?
Expensive.
expensive,
Expensive,
Expensive.
expensive. These are adjectives, yeah? And we use adjectives to compare things. Well, to describe things, but also to compare things. These adjectives have a comparative form, yeah? You may used this before. And we can change the base form of these adjectives to the comparative form by adding er at the end. In order for you to change a base form of an adjective to a comparative adjective, you have to consider the next rules or the next considerations. For example, an adjective with one or two syllables, an adjective with one or two syllables, wait a sec, is an adjective you are going to add, where you are going to add er at the end. One or two syllables, you are going to add er at the end or IER at the end. We're going to write some examples. But what about number two? adjectives with more than 2 syllables. With adjectives with more than 2 syllables, you cannot add ER at the end or IER at the end, but you are going to add more before the adjective so you can have the comparative form of this adjective. You can have more before the adjective or less before the adjective. These are also considered as irregular adjectives, yeah? Because we don't change them by adding ER or IER at the end. We're going to write some examples. And number 3, for example, well, this is more than the example, more than number 3. Example. About number 2, okay? We have expensive. How many syllables does expensive have?
3,
So it has more than 2, right? More than 2. In order for you to compare something that is expensive, we have 2 things that are expensive, 2 things that are expensive, but one costs more than the other one, but both are expensive. Then you are going to change the comparative form of expensive by saying more expensive or less expensive, not expensiver. Yeah, this one is not correct. You are supposed to consider which one is more expensive than the other one, but or less expensive than the other one. But you are not going to say expensiver. Now, you have to consider the next thing. If I say one thing is less expensive, then that means it's cheap. If it's less expensive, is it cheap?
Not really.
No, right? It's expensive, but it's just less expensive than the other one expensive. But that doesn't mean it's cheap, right? Expensive is when it costs a lot of money or more money you considered could be fair for what you wanted to pay. Yeah? Let's write some examples. I'm going to write them here.
Teacher, more and less is the same?
No, more is when talking about expensive, it indicates a higher quantity of money. Yeah? And less is not that much money. Yeah? So more is like this, ooh, up, and less is down, right? More expensive, more money, less expensive, less money. Yeah? We can use more or less with any adjective we have from this list, but it has to be more than 2 syllables. Let's check the examples. We're going to write about some cell phones. For example, the Star X07 is lighter than the My Phone. In order for you to write a correct comparison between 2 singular things, we are going to use the verb be, the comparative form of the adjective, and than. Not then, but than. Yeah? Is lighter than. To compare two things. The two things we are comparing here are the star X07 and the my phone. Two cell phones. We are comparing two cell phones. So the star X07 is lighter than the my phone. Yeah? Lighter. Oh, you can carry it. Lighter. And not lighter. Oh, like this. Both are light. Both are light. But we're comparing them both. Now check. Some more examples. The my phone is heavier than the star X07. Check. We have the adjective heavy. When you have an adjective that ends in a consonant Y, in order for you to change it to a comparative form, you have to drop Y and then add IER. Remember this rule? This rule applied for verbs and for things in level A1, right? If the adjective ends in consonant Y, you change Y to IER, so then you have the comparative form, okay? So you don't only add ER at the end. Now check that it's the opposite. The my phone is heavier than star X07. Question. Which cell phone is more expensive? Check that here the adjective is expensive. And we are going to change it to a comparative form by adding more before expensive. Because expensive is more than two syllables. Expensive. Three syllables. Expensive. That's why we cannot use expensiver, but more expensive. For example, the star X07 is more expensive than the my phone. Or the my phone is less expensive than the star X07. Check that in these two sentences we are basically saying the same. Yeah? These sentences are not different in meaning. These two sentences are exactly the same. Yeah? But in one of these sentences, we're saying that the Star X07 is more expensive than the my phone. And in the other one, we're saying the my phone is less expensive than the Star X07. But this information is basically the same. Yeah? Do you have any questions until now? Okay. Now check. Yes, no questions. Is the my phone better than the star X07? Here, the comparative adjective is better. This is an irregular comparative adjective. We're going to write a list right away. But is the my phone better than the star X07? And we can say, yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yeah? The verbi, the basic verbi. But in this case, I'm going to give you more information. For example, no, I don't think it's better. It's actually worse. Worse is another irregular adjective that we are going to see where it comes from. But remember, you have to make sure you know where the pronouns come, subject pronouns or personal pronouns. So what is this it talking about? What is
The
this
cell
it?
phone.
About the cell phone.
About the cell phone,
What cell phone?
my phone.
My
the,
phone.
My phone.
Okay. So the question is the my phone better than the Star X07?
The cell star
No,
X07.
Well, let's confirm. The question is about the my phone, right?
Yeah.
The question is about the my phone. That's what I'm interested in.
The answer is it's.
So that it is talking about the my phone. Yeah? Okay. Now we're going to see some examples for the adjectives. The comparative adjectives are not that difficult to use, but most people make mistakes with them when they don't know how to change them to a comparative form. So I am going to erase this. Check. We have the adjective, regular or irregular, and the comparatives. The adjectives we have are light, nice, thin, heavy, difficult, good, or bad. These two last adjectives are irregular adjectives. So we have regular adjectives and irregular adjectives. The regular adjectives follow the rule we mentioned at the beginning. If it's one syllable verb, one syllable adjective, or two syllable adjective, we are going to add er or ier at the end, or if it's more than two syllables, we're going to use more or less. But if it's an irregular adjective, we cannot follow that rule. Check. For example, the comparative form of light is lighter. We only add er at the end. The comparative form of nice is nicer. We add R at the end because it already has E before, right? After, at the end. The comparative form of thin. Check. We're going to follow the same rule we had when we were changing some verbs in the present continuous and simple present before. We've talked about this rule before. If we have a one syllable adjective with a pattern consonant, vowel, consonant, from the end of the adjective to the beginning of the adjective, in this case we have consonant N, vowel I, consonant H. We have this pattern and it has only one syllable, then we need to double that last consonant and then we can add er at the end. This is because it's a one syllable adjective and that's why we have to confirm that we've identified that it has the pattern consonant, vowel, consonant, but remember, from the last part of the adjective to the beginning of the adjective, not from the starting point to the rest of the adjective. The comparative form of heavy is like the one we mentioned before. If it ends with consonant Y, you need to drop Y and then add IER at the end, just so you have the comparative form of heavy. Then we have difficult. Difficult is more than two syllables. Difficult. More than two. That's why we cannot say difficulter. No. Since it's quite long, you are going to use another word which can be more difficult or less difficult. Yeah? And then we have irregular adjectives. Good, we are not going to change it to gooder. No. Bad, we are not going to change it to badder. No. Since these are irregular, we are going to need another word. Instead of saying gooder, you use better. And instead of saying better, you use worse. They change completely. Yeah? We have more irregular adjectives, but we are not going to use them now. So let's use these adjectives. Good, better, bad, worse. And one more thing you have to remember once you use the comparative form of these adjectives is that you have to use than after the adjective, after the comparative adjective. Yeah? After the comparative adjective, you use than. It doesn't matter if it's regular or irregular, you are going to use than. Because here we're comparing two things together. Lighter than, nicer than, thinner than, heavier than, more difficult than or less difficult than, better than or worse than. But these comparatives, do you have any questions until now? Okay, let's compare. In the exercises we have, it's lighter and thinner. Comparative adjectives. Match the opposites. We said that the opposite form of light is heavy. What is the opposite form of quiet?
Loud.
Loud. So we write letter A. Oh, let me change the color. The opposite of cheap?
Big.
Expensive, which is letter F. The opposite of small?
Big.
Big, which is letter B. Be careful not to say big, but big. Big. What is the opposite of thin?
Thick.
Thick.
Now it's thick, yeah? And slow?
Fast.
Fast. So you are not always going to use the comparative form of these adjectives to compare two things. I mean, you are not always going to use the same adjective. You are not always going to say this is lighter than this one because both are light, or because both are quiet, both are cheap, both are small, both are thin, both are slow. No, it means that you can use different adjectives to compare them or to describe them. For example, you can say, this is light and this is heavy. This is quiet and this is loud. Yeah? You are not going to say, this is light, this is lighter. This is lighter than this one. No, you are not always going to use the comparatives, but you can also use the opposites. Yeah? But do you have any questions on the meaning of any of these adjectives? Okay. Now check. Let's use the opposites. Look at the pictures. Complete the sentences with some of the words from exercise 1. First, we have Joe's car is big and slow. Check that here we're not comparing the car to any other car. We're only describing the car. Joe's car is big and slow. But look at Donna's. Look at Donna's car. Gustavo, what are the two adjectives we can use to describe this car? What are the two adjectives? we would use for this car?
I'm sorry. Donna's car is big and fast.
Okay. Fast is okay. Yeah, it can be fast, but not big.
Sorry, small.
Small, yeah? Yes. Well, we're not comparing it to Joe's. We're not comparing it to Joe's, but since we have the reference, we can say Donna's car compared to Joe's car, it's small. That? So Donna's car is small and fast. What about number 3, Nayeli, with the book?
This book is, I don't know, big or thick,
Thick
okay, and expensive.
and expensive. Check that if you say that a book is big, then that would be big like this. Ooh, what a book. It's big. Look at all those big letters and those big thoughts, those big images. Yeah? But if you're talking about the number of pages, then you would say the book is thick. Yeah? Not big,
Oh,
but thick. Okay?
okay.
What about number 4? We're not comparing it to the third one, but using that as a reference. Look at this book. What are the 2 adjectives for this book in number 4?
This book is thin and cheap.
Thin and cheap. Yes. So when you're talking about the number of pages, you can say the book is thin or the book is thick. Talking about the number of pages, yeah? They can be both big books. Oh, imagine the book. Oh, I mean, that big may vary. For you, maybe a big book would be like this. Oh, this book is big. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be this big. Yeah. But maybe like this, it's a big book. But they both can be big, but one of them is thick and the other one is thin. Yeah. Both of them can be big, but one of them is thick and the other one is thin. Okay? They may be the opposite. Let's compare. Here we didn't compare. We took one example as a reference, but we didn't compare them. Exercise number 3. Listen, and please raise your hand if you want to participate. Look at the pictures, then write sentences with a comparative form of the adjectives in parentheses. We have a desktop computer and we have a laptop. The adjective we're going to use is heavy. If we're going to use heavy, we cannot start with laptop because the one is heavy is the desktop computer. So depending on the adjective we have as an option, that is the thing we're going to take as a reference in order for us to decide which one is going to be the subject of the sentence. In this case, we start with the desktop computer. The desktop computer is heavier than the laptop. If we use the adjective big, what is the sentence? Gustavo?
The desktop computer is bigger than the laptop.
Is bigger than the laptop. Check that bigger goes with double G because it's a one syllable verb and it has the pattern consonant, vowel, consonant. That's why we doubled the last consonant. The desktop computer is bigger than the laptop. What about number 3, Nayeli, with old?
The desktop computer is older than the laptop.
Than the laptop. What about light? Jenny?
The desktop computer is lighter than the laptop.
Okay, here it depends on the reference or the adjective we're using as a reference. In this case, you're saying that the desktop computer is lighter. It's like, oh. So you carry it and it's like, eh.
Isn't.
Or the laptop is, oh. Which one can you hold with one hand?
The laptop.
The laptop, right? So you start the sentence with the laptop.
Okay.
The laptop is lighter than the desktop computer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it depends on the adjective we have, the subject we're going to use.
Okay.
What about new? Which one do we start with? The desktop computer or the laptop?
The laptop.
The laptop
The laptop
is newer
newer
than the desktop
than
computer.
the desktop computer.
Than the desktop computer. Thank you, Christian. So the laptop's newer. We're talking about that, right? Than the desktop computer. And what about small? Which one do we use to start?
The laptop is smaller than the desktop computer.
The desktop computer. Yes. So remember, you have to check the reference according on the adjective you are going to use to compare, right? That is the thing that is going to show a huge difference if you change the order, in case you don't need to change the order. We can use some different adjectives in order for you to describe a lot of things. Just be careful. What is your first reference? What is going to be the subject? In order for us to make sure we understand this, let's go to exercise number 4. Circle the correct words to complete the email. We have this email to mateog@cop.org from cassandra92@cop.com. The subject, my new computer. Hi, Mateo. I have a new computer. It's really nice. It's a laptop. So it's more small or smaller. In this case,
Small.
since small is not that big, it doesn't have more than 2 syllables, smaller is the correct option, not more small. It's a laptop, so it's smaller than my old desktop computer. It's also faster or less fast?
Faster.
Faster.
Faster. It is not correct to say less fast. This doesn't exist. Well, it was expensiver or more expensive?
More expensive.
More expensive.
More expensive. Not expensiver. This is not grammatically correct. But that's okay. I love it. The computer store had a cheaper or less cheap laptop.
Cheaper.
Cheaper. Less cheap is not correct at all. But it was very old or older.
Older.
Check that we always have exceptions, right? We may have rules, but then we get to a point where that rule doesn't apply. So this is the case. When you have a word like this before the adjective, we cannot say older, but old. Very old, not very older. That doesn't make sense. That is not correct. Okay?
Old.
My laptop is better or good than that one?
Good.
Better.
Better. In this case, better is the comparative form of good. How do we know we are going to use the comparative form? Because we have than here. Yeah? My laptop is better than that one. Okay? Some keywords that are going to show a big difference. Oh, I have a new cell phone too. It's nice or nicer than my old phone.
It
Nice.
is nice.
Nice.
Nicer.
Nicer.
Remember, we have than in front of the adjective, then we need the comparative adjective, yeah? And we have than here too. So we need nicer than, better than, cheaper than, smaller than. Well, we have a lot of exceptions too. We're going to see. It's pretty small.
Small. Less small.
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 Or yes, small. How do we know is small? Well, because less small is not correct. If we needed the comparative adjective, we would use smaller. Yeah, that is one detail. Plus, we have pretty here, which is kind of an adverb of intensity. Remember? Very or pretty. An adverb of intensity. Very old, pretty old, very small, pretty small. Yeah? And it's extremely lighter or extremely light.
Later.
Extremely.
Light.
Light. Why? Because we have extremely, another adverb of intensity, yeah? Very, pretty, extremely, okay? So when you have very, pretty, or extremely before the adjective, you cannot have the comparative adjective, no, but the base form of the adjective. Very old, pretty small, extremely light, okay? How are you? How are your Spanish classes? Are they more difficult or difficult than your classes last year?
Difficult. Difficult than.
More difficult.
More difficult. We need the comparative form here. And the comparative form for difficult is more difficult. Why don't we have difficulter? Because difficult is more than two syllables. Difficult. Yeah? And in order for us to change it to a comparative form, we need more difficult or less difficult. Yeah? So are they more difficult than your classes last year? My English class is bad or worse than my last class last year.
Worse.
Worse than.
Worse than.
Worse.
Worse. We cannot have bad even though it may be correct. Since we have than in front, we need the comparative form of worse. Worse than. The comparative form of bad, sorry. Worse than my class last year. The teacher is pretty friendly, but the class is big or bigger than the one last year.
Bigger.
Bigger than.
Bigger.
Because we have than in front. We don't always end with then and the other thing we're comparing. So that's why we don't focus on grammar rules, because one grammar rule can be one thing for one topic and then you have another thing for another topic. It may work for one exercise, but not for 20 exercises. So that's why grammar rules are not always something we can trust on. Yeah? Copy, read out loud, and get used to that. So we're going to read this, but I am going to cover the options that are not correct so we can see this kind of in an easier way. So give me just a sec and let's read it all together, analyze it. And if you have any questions like, teacher, why? Why is this here, not there? Why? Yeah, please let me know. So Let's read it all together, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Turn your microphones off, listen, and read at the same time. Hi, Mateo. I have a new computer. It's really nice. It's a laptop, so it's smaller than my old desktop computer. It's also faster. It was more expensive, but that's okay. I love it. The computer store had a cheaper laptop, but it was very old. My laptop is better than that one. Oh, I have a new cell phone too. It's nicer than my old cell phone. It's pretty small and it's extremely light. How are you? How are your Spanish classes? Are they more difficult than your classes last year? My English class is worse than my class last year. The teacher is pretty friendly, but the class is bigger than the one last year. Right soon, Cassandra. Do you have any questions on any of the things we have in this reading? Okay. What is this thing? Oh, sorry. Let me change this for something thinner. Yeah. What is that one talking about?
The computer.
The laptop.
Okay. Not the laptop, but what computer?
The new
The
com-
old, the old,
The
the old
old
computer.
computer.
mm,
Mm, it's not
I love it. The
old.
computer.
Aha, it's old, but for the design, yeah? The old computer talking about the design, not old, used old, yeah? But yes, it is old. So we may have two different kinds of old. Old because it's an old design, but it's new, yeah? It's a new product. I mean, you are going to pay for something new, it's not used, but it's an old design. So this is what he's talking about. The computer store had a cheaper laptop, but it was very old. It's like maybe it's not going to support all the things I need for a computer, right? But my laptop's better than that one, even though it was more expensive. Okay? So copy this. Don't only trust on the things you understood. Copy and analyze, yeah? And try to compare things at home because we're going to use them a lot, a lot. And I have one homework for you. If you haven't seen Frozen the movie, if you haven't seen Frozen the movie, do you know this one? Frozen from Disney. It's a Disney movie. Have
yes,
you seen
teacher.
it before?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I hope you haven't seen it in Spanish, but I don't think that is actually probable. If you've seen it in Spanish, okay, just try not to try to forget about it. But this time, watch it in English. Try not to set the subtitles, of course, not the subtitles in English, nor the subtitles in Spanish. Yeah, this is something I don't even have to mention. You are not going to use subtitles in Spanish. Try to listen to one of the jokes one of the princesses make to the other one. It's kind of a in the first 30 minutes of the movie, kind of in the first 30 minutes of the movie, so you don't have to watch the whole movie, but the first 30 minutes um, where they use a joke with one comparative adjective. Try to identify what is the joke with that comparative adjective. Do you know what a joke is?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's something funny, something not
Yes.
true for the other person. Yeah. So try to identify the joke one of the princesses make to the other princess. Okay. It's about a comparative adjective, but it's an English joke. If you start identifying those things that are not correct, but are jokes in English, then you are going to start understanding, getting the humor they have in English, because it's a complete different one. So, homework, if you have the time, try not to watch it tonight if you don't have the time, but I hope you do. Watch the first 30 minutes of Frozen in English. No subtitles, please. Not in English, nor not in Spanish, okay? And there you are going to find a joke with these comparative adjectives. Do you have questions about your homework? Okay, yeah.
No, teacher.
Even if you don't like Disney movies, well, this is a good homework. Basically, Disney films are level A2. So those are ones I recommend, okay, for level A2. And tomorrow, please let me know. Text me, teacher, this is the joke, or is this the joke, teacher? So try to identify it, okay? Tomorrow we're going to continue practicing more about these comparatives here. And if you receive the wrong material, please let me know so I can send it to you, okay? I already sent it to both of you, but if you don't identify or you don't find the same pages, please let me know so I can send you the new one. Thank you all so much for being here, and welcome to block number 2 for level A2. Have a great
Thank you,
evening.
teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thanks.